CIOCS, SOUP 5, ITES SW2, 2GIT. These contracts are just a few of the many federal contracts Connection Public Sector Solutions supports. Connection's IT hardware, software, and services for federal agencies are budget-friendly and delivered with exceptional customer service, easing procurement challenges and day-to-day frustrations. Connection Public Sector Solutions, guiding the connection between people and technology. Learn more at connection.com/fedcontracts.
Hi there, I am Adam Kivas, and this is our second episode where I talk about my work as an author, and this is still the beginning of a journey where I will eventually figure out whether podcasting or whether I see a future in podcasting. However, nevertheless, the last time I wanted to talk about why we are writing, I think I didn't quite finish it, or there are actually many reasons. There are actually many reasons why someone would write, and one reason is of course that you have a story to tell. I mean, sure, everyone has a story to tell, and if you ask people, they will say the same. But I wanna talk about me, because this podcast is as well as supposed to introduce me to people who read my stuff and wanna know more about me, because on social media I somehow, or people may not know anything about me. I mean, truth be told, my books, they don't sell that well. However, but I still have not given up the hope that I can somehow reach some people for the sake of entertainment. However, I like I said, I am from I'm of Turkish descent. My parents are from Turkey, and my father as well as my mother, they had only basic education. My father went only 5 years to school. They were not very wealthy. I mean, this 5 years to school, this was basics, whereas my mother, she went only 4 years to school because she was a woman and so on. So they could barely read and write. Nevertheless, but so there was not much they could give me on the way with. Nevertheless, I mean, I'm very thankful for my parents. Like I said, they died in 2012, but they taught me many things about life, and I will always be grateful to them. I mean, it is of course my parents knew the world from their perspectives. I mean, they grew up in Turkey, in rural Turkey. They were farmers, and I mean, this is somehow how you understand and grasp the world. Then they had luck. This is what you have to call it, an opportunity with luck, that they could come to Austria, work there as Gastarbeiter. This is a special term in Austrian Germany, which translated means guest workers. Gast is guest and Arbeiter is worker. So these foreigners from all over Eastern Europe, they never meant to stay for long, but yet, as we all know it, they stood longer. They built lives in Austria as well as in Germany, and nevertheless, this mentality, I mean, of Gastworker Arbeit, it is not only that the Austrian or the German state somehow had this secret idea. Yeah, well, in the end, we will eventually send those foreigners, Gastarbeiter, back home. It is as well as the mentality mentality. I mean, for those who might not know it, but the typical Gastarbeiter mentality was that your life in Austria was always momentarily. I mean, that you would somehow always seek your that you came to Austria to earn money, and that you will eventually go back. This was the plan, and this was not only the plan from the Austrian or German government. This is as well as how my parents thought. I mean, everything we would buy, if it is a new vacuum cleaner, we would use the new vacuum cleaner in Turkey and would use the old one in Austria and so on. So they always say, and we grew up with this, that one day that they would return to Turkey, and this is the reason why they invested so much in building a life in Turkey and not in Austria. And I mean, of course, there was some that they did not really think about the future of the children, because I was born, or we were born in Austria. We grew up with the Austrian culture. My mother tongue is German, and of course, if we go to Turkey, it somehow feels not really like home. I mean, you feel like a foreigner in Turkey as well. So for us migrants at the of the second or third generation who then grew up in Austria, it became some sort of an issue, or as well as a big issue, because in one on the on one hand, you are not a part of Austria. This is not something this is not an individual perception. I mean, everyone who knows a thing or two about Austria, especially rural Austria as well as Vienna, racism is racism is pretty much rampant, and people have as well as the knowledge that you are a foreigner. I mean it, and in Austria, things like skin color, as we would, they do not really matter that much. So it is a different kind of consideration, and in Austria, people genuinely think that you are different than them, and that you are not part of their culture. I mean, I've been told many times that I'm not Austrian, not only in a negative sense. Everyone assumes that, yeah, that that I was somehow just a victim of racist slurs. Yes, but not at all. I was as well as talked to by very open-minded people who, for example, thought that because I'm from Turkey and that because my parents are Muslims, that I would be an expert in those two areas. Well, I'm not, but however, I mean, it was not all negative, but but in Austria you have this feeling, and this feeling, this is this will be transmitted to you, that you are foreign, that you are not part of the society, in a way, sometimes negatively, but sometimes as well as positively. I mean, if you only think about in Western Europe, where the love of your country is rather considered as negative, in America or whatever, where when you say you love America, people immediately associate this with far right extremism, with nationalism. So loving your country in Western Europe has some sort of a negative connotation, and this is the reason why people are more and more interested in foreign cultures and foreign religions, but I am not an expert, of course, in religious matters nor in Turkish. I mean, I speak basic Turkish. I know how to ask for bare needs, but or how to get by, but this is far away from my sophisticated language use in German. But however, and as a Turkish migrant, you are somehow, in a way, guest in both worlds, because here in Turkey, I mean, no matter what people say, but in Turkey you are being considered as a foreigner as well. They say to you, "Ah, you are a European, that you grow up that differently, and that life would be easier in Europe whatsoever." However, this of course creates some. This of course contributes how you see the world. I mean, my thinking, my my thinking and writing, of course, is always in a perspective where I always uh, look in two worlds, because in one way it is easier for me to observe the Austrian culture as well as the Turkish culture, because you are always some sort of the periphery of it. You are outside the center, and in a sociological term, it's easier to observe something, or observe a group if you are outside the group. But of course, you being in being a part of the group will help you to understand uh, micro mechanism as well. However, this is why me and my parents, like I said, they could barely read and write. So, but nevertheless, my father was somehow different. I mean, my father, I mean, he did not write much. I mean, the only thing I read parts of it, or something of my father, was diary entries, because he would used to write diaries. This is because my father, excuse me, my father had a car accident in his youth. Not in his youth, but when he was already married with my mother, and when we were born, he had a car accident. This was he narrowly escaped death later. I mean, later, he and my mother would not be so fortunate. However, and there I read some diary entries. But this was about his illnesses and so on. This was really somehow surprising for me. I mean, I did not have. You have to be aware. You have to think about the fact that when I went to school, and of course, some Austrian students. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, you are around them, and then I, I then heard that, and many of these pupils in school, when I was in primary school, secondary school, and they would all talk about that their parents would help them and so on. I mean, we did not have that, and we did not have that. I mean, our parents, they had their own issues. Uh, they had to struggle themselves, and so somehow some distance grew to our parents. I mean, we always thought that they are not very smart and so on, and it somehow you could never really ask them something, because they did not know, and you somehow thought, maybe they went in school to Turkey, they don't know much. And when I first read this diary of my father, it was not a complete diary, it was only a couple of pages. I mean, it was really something you could grab in a way. I mean, my father worked his entire life. I mean, he was doing a lot of overtime. I mean, he was an assembly worker in a sawmill, so we never saw him during the week, only on the weekends. And and of course he was somehow some sort of this stranger who was not much at home, so he was rather absent. And then when I read these diary entries, even though if it was about this accident he narrowly survived, it was somehow, yeah, it helped me to, in a way, because mm, it was different, and writing was something I I actually, yeah, started in my youth, but it was rather I was influenced by movies, by video games and so on. So it was not really writing in that sense, and I was rather bored and so on. But to talk about these things, is writing is, I think, partially partially writing is of course an issue that you have to be some sort of a not gifted. I would not say that you have to specially gifted for writing, but it is rather the way you have to think about it. I mean, this is like, you could say, yeah, that's the typical overthinker. He does not find anyone to talk to, and that's why he writes it down. Yeah. Now, writing is, I think, has nothing to do whether about language or whether you are gifted to any language or whatsoever. It is rather really that you have this urge or something to sit down and write. And I don't. And then the next thing is that I think that writing, this is my personal opinion, is not something you cannot learn. I do not think that you just sit there and wait until the muse kisses you, or something. At least it did never happen to me, because I always actively engage in the thematic. I mean, I try to create stories. For example, that one good advice for writing is you have to read, but not you should not read anything that could grab that you can grab, but really things that interest you. And the second thing is that fiction. I mean, you can create a world in entirely out of your imagination, but this is rather very time consuming, and it rather always sounds some sort of still state. It is not authentic. It is somewhat distant. Whereas if you create stories from your daily life, and if you and especially after you observe them, then you see there is a lot, plethora of material you can use to. I mean, this is, we people, we always think, and me, I was like that. I mean, I thought, my daily life is too boring. I mean, there are no stories to tell. Yeah, what? Yeah, well, that's not true. You only have to observe it. You have to see it, because in my time, I'm a millennial. I'm a millennial. In my generation, it is normal that people hide and conceal their true feelings, their identity. So even though we live in an age of social media, but social media have some sort of became only a social etiquette. So what people expect you to be. So role. This is the role we are playing, whereas your true secret, or not, whereas your true self is somehow sort of in the background, because it is not represent present presentable. It is, or it is, somehow it is not. It is against social expectation. Only think about those dating sites. I mean, who is honest on those dating sites when it comes to who they are? I mean, we pretty much know what we want. I mean, a partner, uh, to love, of course, but who is really honest with themselves? Who is honest with their weaknesses, with what they are capable to. The same as with applications. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I mean, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to many people. I'm not very social, but every time when I was asked at a job application, are you capable to work in a team? I would always say yes, because I assume this is expected for me, and I know if I would say no, I'm not very social, then I probably would not get the job. So I think somehow this in our millennial age, it has come to we have some sort of gained the notion that we have to put back our true self. And if you write you, or one of the reasons why you stand in front of a blank paper and you don't know what to write about is because you see or consider your personal life as boring. I mean, but if you observe it, if you look at it, then you see there are some interesting stuff. I mean, I don't mean interesting stuff in sort of voyeurism. I think if you write a book or any, anything comparable, I would say 50% is is real, and 50% is fiction. Of course, you should know. You have to change some things, identities, and so on. Nevertheless, but our personal life, no matter how boring they seem, they can be a great source of of uh, of of experiences and knowledges. Because when I went to the university, in the university, most of the students were from the middle class, and they partially did not know what life life in the as in the working classes. I mean, they would all read Bourdieu, they will all read Marxist literature, but no one of them really know how the middle class, how the working class are doing, or how the working class is really thinking, as well as how migrants, um, the perception of migrants. I mean, there are in Austria. This is something one needs to talk about as well. Is that in Austria the Turkish minority, the Turkish migrants, they are a little bit struggling to keep up with the host society in terms of education, in terms of social and cultural contribution. And this is the reason why in the universities and so on, that there are not many migrants. So it does not mirror the total percentage of migrants living in the society. However, but if you write about things that I would say this is like you, I had to writing always some sort of approach like you would write in the university or a seminar paper, and this would mean that you get information. This information can be brainstorming. And I would always start in my own world. There are a lot of things happened in my world. I mean, some of them tragically, some of them very tragic, and yeah, but it is not only about. I think writing. I mean, I know if I talk about this, I mean, oh yeah, I use material for my world. Yeah, but it all sounds some sort of voyeuristic. I mean, oh, he seeks some stories, but I think writing has, as well as some sort of a self therapeutic element in it. I mean, if I write, I mean, you somehow speak things from your soul. I mean, everyone knows that if you write a love novel, and if you imagine this uh, person you wanted to be with or you were with, and then it did not work out, and then in those novels, then you always imagine how could it have worked out, or why didn't it work out. I mean, it is some sort of self-healing, or it is or you ruminate over the same issues over and over again. So it is not about voyeurism to exploit life stories to sell them. So it is fiction after all. So no, but it has as well as many self. It it talks about you. Every story is about you, but as well as it is about the people you met along, which and then you work through it. You work it out. You sort it out. I mean, as an author, you have this privilege. You do not have to pay as a psychiatrist. No, you can write this stuff off your chest, no matter how bad and good it is. But however, I don't think that you have to be gifted to become a writer. I think you can become a writer with practice, and there are many good examples, especially in the science fiction community. There are many science fiction fans who later become writers, and a very remarkable one. So I think writing has nothing mystically on it, but the start is always difficult, because we are, like I said the last time, we are somehow always discouraged from from sharing our own thoughts, because it is somehow our own lives, they are being demeaned. They wouldn't mean anything. At least this is how I perceived it. But if you keep writing, then you gain confidence. I mean, I mean, I'm not sure whether this is true or wrong, but I heard that Mark Twain would sit down every day and would write 5 pages. This is and this is, I think, a good idea, or at least I took it to heart when I started writing, that every day I would try to write a certain amount of words, if it is 1,000 or 2,000 words, and then you feel this somehow. The more you write, the more you have it in your feeling, in your heart. It becomes easier to write. This is like exercising, or if you run a marathon. The first time, if you try to run, I don't know, 5 miles or 7 kilometers, then you will be exhausted. But then more and more you get used to it, more and more your mind can adapt to it, and it is easier to write, I think. And one thing of course one needs to talk about is that writing is never only and solely for for the sake of art. I mean, writing is as well as about. I mean, of course, you wanna make a living. I mean, everyone dreams of it. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't dream of that you can solely dedicate your life to working, to writing? I mean, I'm a passionate philosopher. Philosophy is my life, it would be amazing if I could dedicate my life in philosophy. However, and this is what you and this is, but it is not as well as about the money. I mean, you have to be aware that every story you write about, every story you tell, of course, they have something personal of you. They are part of you, and not only from you, but of your world. I mean, if I write about stuff, then I write mostly about stuff what happened to me, the people I meet in my world, and I mean, of course, I am with prejudice. I have prejudice. This is, but I try to be fair. I try to depict people in a fair way. However, but this is somehow my world, and of course you want people to acknowledge this, to like this. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, this is part of you, but of course, as an author in general, there are only few who really made it. And everyone knows them. I mean, we all know that how successful J.K. Rowling was. I mean, and I love those Harry Potter novels. I do admit I have not read all of them, but yet, if you read them, yeah, they have something remarkable, and everyone wants to write some good stuff, but it is, but as well as something that lasts. I mean, being able to sustain your life as an artist is this is something you seek to. I mean, it is not only about the art's sake that I would write because I love or because I want to contribute to art. I mean, this is, especially in Austria, this is a bit difficult and partially dangerous, because in Austria the art scene is pretty much closed. At least this is what I perceived. I mean, again, I talk about my own perception. This is what I think. This is what I observed. This is what I saw. And in Austria, there are art elite, or the intellectual elite in Austria. This is rather closed for what reason, whatever. Or I mean, I don't want to get into it. Some who read news will maybe assume why. However, I don't want to get into it. This is a podcast about my work as an author, and it is mainly to introduce myself. However, I mean, to come back, I mean, you can be a good author. You can write about stuff, and I think that in our time, it is even the more the merrier, I would say. So even despite the fact we somehow do not have the time to read all. I mean, if you only watch of Amazon or even of what pad I write short fiction on Wattpad. I mean, there are so many stories. There is no way I can read all of them. I mean, and in Amazon, this was in the past, before I was listening to audio books. I would always read reviews, not good reviews or bad reviews. I would buy those books which had the most reviews. I didn't mind. I didn't I didn't I didn't mind whether these reviews were bad or something. No, it was really about buying popular books. And then later, I mean, if I listen to audio books, especially the new ones. I mean, right now I mostly listen to classics, but if I want to invest my time in listening in a new audio book, I mean, of course, I want to rather I go through over reviews, and I go for those books which have the most reviews, because you have to be aware of one thing. As an author, your time is scarce. I mean, you cannot just invest hours and hours on on books which do not help you to develop. At least this is what I think, because I think of myself as an author who is in developing. I don't think that I am just this finished author, or this sophisticated author. I think that this will take time, years, and it will never end. I mean, you always learn something new, and you have to keep learning. However, and this is the reason why your time is scarce. You don't have much time in investing so much time in new offers. I mean, I know this sounds cruel because I'm a new offer. People do not read my stuff, and if I do not read people's stuff, I mean, what can I expect? Because it is not likely that I will be discovered. However, but I understand. I understand that, and if you buy a book, I mean, if you're already an author, if you're already an author who is struggling to make ends meet, I mean, then of course, if you wanna buy a book, a paperback, even it only costs you $10, €10. I mean, this can be a heavy investment because as a normal fast reader, as a very or let's say as a mature reader, you read about one book per day, or let's say you read in a week between 4 to 5 books. This is the normal pace if you have the time and so on. And then I mean 5 books a week, and then a month. This is a lot. And so buying new books, this cost you a lot of money, and you want to spend it wisely. I mean, as an author, especially if you're an author, you should always seek after books which can really help you to develop. And the best way to start with is reading the classics or listening to them via audio book, because this is cheap and way more effective. However, this was for today. I have to watch the time. Yeah, we're half an hour, more than half an hour. So I hope I could. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and I hope we hear and see us again. Bye from Turkey, and take care of yourself. This is a dangerous time. Bye.
There are more ways to celebrate than ever before at the Jeep Celebration event. Hurry in for great deals today on the only brand that lets you go anywhere and do anything. And now financing get $2,500 total cash allowance on the purchase of a 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee WK Laredo 4x4. Don't miss this great offer. Hurry into the Jeep Celebration event today. Financing for qualified buyers through Chrysler Capital. Not all buyers will qualify. Residency restrictions apply. Must take retail delivery by 5/2/22. Jeep is a registered trademark.